There we go. All right. So this is the kind of the basic final result we're going to get today, and it's important to know that we have started from here. So we are trying to learn how to move from here to there, and it's basically through a bunch of different steps that I'm going to show what different things mean in rendering, and then at the end you'll come up with a result kind of similar to this. So if you have your Maya open like this, the first thing is that did you guys get a chance to download the Mental Ray plugin and install it? If you did, it will just give you a file, you will run it, it will install it, and then you will run your Maya. In order to get the plugin to work for you, you have to go to your Windows, then to your setting and preferences, and then to your plugin manager. So if you go there, that's where all your plugins are. You can scroll down, you'll see something like this. With all the plugins that are loaded or not. You will go down and you'll find where, all right, here. Oh, that's good.
Is better?
So here it says Mental Ray for Maya, and then the plugin is called Maya to MR. You will click load it so that it's loaded on this environment that we're working, and then you click auto load it so next time you run Maya, it is loading for you. You refresh it and then you close it. So right now you have a Maya which has Mental Ray on it. So if you remember last time we were talking about this window over here where we can move from modeling to rigging and animation, and now this time we're going to take a look at rendering. If you go to rendering, you'll see a bunch of new tabs opening on the top here. I'm not gonna go into too much detail. Just take a look at these as the same way that Stephen talked about sculpting your object. You can go to texturing and can actually do a 3D paint or kind of create a texture for your object, or you can play around with your materials and lighting and do different things in rendering. But what we're going to do mainly here is in this menu, which is also shown here in these few icons up there. Okay, so basically what we need in a rendering is, first of all, a base plane like that, and then an object on top of it. So just to be a little bit more interesting and see what different shadows mean here, I inserted the famous teapot from 3ds Max here, so that we can have good variations in surfaces and see where different shadows are and how things work here. All right. So that's basically a scene you might need for rendering. It's always good to have a large base so that you don't see a lot of the edges or corners, and still, again, that's a preference, a personal preference. Maybe you want to show those corners and edges. Sort of like that. Okay, so let's we're here. We have done nothing with lighting or rendering engines or anything. We'll just click this icon, which is rendering, the second one here. So I'm just going to show you guys quickly what these are. So the first one opens your render view window here for you. Second one will render that image for you. And then the third one is not really important. The fourth one is the render settings. And then the last one is your hypershift. We're going to get to each of them one by one. So let's render this view without doing any settings on it. So that's how it looks. But what is here on the render view window? There are lots of different options and different functions that you can access through this window, but a few that are important and interesting are this one. So first of all, up here you see two icons. One of them is keep render. So if you click on that, it will keep your render and will give you this at the bottom. So if you if you render a new view like this, you will render it. Now you have your both views here in this menu, and you can always compare. So it's good if you're changing some options, if you want to test, see if it's working for you or not, or even if it's having any effects on the scene. So you keep your image and then do a new one. You can also go to options and then test resolution, and then test your rendering in a lower or high resolution than your final result, just to get a better information. I'm not going to do that here, but have in mind that that is available for you. you can do your, you can just click here and then do a render. So that will render your previous view, or you can also right click, go to render, and then redo previous render. So that's also another way to do that. So it's always useful to have multiple monitors when you're doing rendering. So let's say I have this on a different monitor and that environment on a different monitor. I have it here. Each time I do a change, I go to render and I redo my previous render. I'll see what's going on, go back and work on my object. The other thing that's important and interesting is that you can select a portion of the scene and click here on the second icon, which is render region. It will render just that region for you. So let's say I change something over there, I just want to test it, don't spend too much time on it, and give a quick response, what's going on there. I just click a part of this window and do a region, render region. And then you can also, as expected, save your images with right-click and going to the file and save image, or up here, file and save images. So when you do save an image, it gives you a lot of different file types that you can choose from. So we are all familiar with JPEG, so we can just simply go and do JPEG. That's fast and quick. If you want to have a better quality image, you can do a PNG or a TIFF file. So TIFF files are mainly for high quality rendering, and PNGs are when you care about the layers, maybe you want to remove the background layer, or you want to get an alpha layer out of your rendering, you use a PNG. So JPEG is the fastest and easiest to use, and then PNG and TIFF are like the more high-end file types to use. All right, so out of that, I've got a list here just to make sure that I'm not missing anything. Okay, so the other thing here is that, as you saw, if we have this view and then we do a render, you can easily compare that what we see here in this frame is not exactly what we're rendering, and that's because the proportion of our rendering is different. So just to be safe on that, you can, when you are in this environment, you can go to your options here. You can go to your view, and then you can go to your camera setting, and then click on resolution gate. So again, here, view, camera setting, resolution gate. It will give you this frame. It's like a safe frame where your rendering is happening. So when you think about it, it makes sense that the proportions of this window is not exactly the proportions of your rendering. So when you have this resolution gauge, you will see where it's safe and where you can put your stuff and actually see that in your final rendering like this. We have that. Next thing is how to set a camera. I'm not going to go into too much detail about camera because Payman is going to cover that. But just letting you guys know that as everything else is, if you go to create a camera, you can select a camera, and then it will put something here for you. You can rotate it and put it where you want and then see through this view. But there's also a better way of doing that, which is you go to your view and then you create a camera from the view. So now this is the camera view set for me. How we know that? You go here and open the outliner. Same thing that we talked about before. We see a new camera has been added here. It's called Press 1. I'm going to rename it and give it Cam 1. So now we know that we have a camera 1 view. I'm just going to get rid of the outliner, go here to my panel, perspectives. We see now we have a perspective view and a camera 1 view. I'm going to click on it. You see that's the view, and at the bottom says this camera. Just make sure when you're orbiting around your object, you're not orbiting in your camera view, because you might lose where it was, you might not have enough undos to get back to where it was before, and you might want to go back to your previous file and import your previous camera. So just make sure if it's a camera view, don't orbit around or change your view. Always go back to your perspective view, do whatever you want, and then you can always go back and see what it looks in your camera view. So, pardon? Yeah, you can do lock your camera again. So I'm gonna go to my perspective and look at it like that. Okay, so that's how to set a camera, and again, you can always from outliner or from your scene select your camera, and here see the different details in your channel box for your attributor editor and play bits. Probably very similar to an actual physical camera, the settings that you can change. Okay, so that's about the camera. I'm gonna just go here to my panels, in the camera, and render it so that we have. Another thing that is interesting is that if we change the panel to perspective view, let's say you want to set a light or do something, we rotate around, and then here in this window, you right click, go render, and redo previous render, it still renders the camera view for us. So you can easily just do whatever you want here, work with your object, and then still render your camera view. Another thing that is important is that as you see these edges on the corners, because my poly is not perfect, so I'm going to just shift, right click, and move my object a little bit so that I get a better shading out of it. And then render. It looks like that. Okay, so I talked about setting a camera and how to create a camera from your scene. Now let's talk about lights. We have a lot of different lights here, as you can see in the Create Lights menu over there. So I'm just gonna take it over here. As you can see, and Bronco, thanks for talking about all these difficult technical parts. So I'm not gonna go back and explain all those difficult scientific stuff. I'm just gonna tell you what to use in the software to be easy, but they're all based on all those facts that Bronco was talking about. So as Bronco said, you can see ambient light, point light, spotlight, area light, and everything there. I'm just gonna put a few of them in the scene so that you guys get a sense what they mean. So as soon as you click on one of them, it will create that at the center. In case it's not selected, you can always go to your outliner, find your light there, it will be selected, and then move it very quickly. And then I've got an ambient light there. I'll open my render view and then re-render my previous render, so I can compare what it is now. If I just say keep render and then delete my ambient light, re-render my previous, now I can compare what it means to have an ambient light. So interesting thing, before you put any lights in the scene, Maya has a default lighting, which is pretty basic, which is what you can see here, and it shows your object. Like before, like years ago, they didn't have a default lighting, so without any lights in the scene, you wouldn't see anything when you render your object. But now they have a default lighting, so whatever you do, you'll see your object, but it's not a good quality. And then you'll start playing with your lights to get a good result. Going back to different types of lights. So let's say this time I try a point light. I'll just click on it. It will create it there. Now I will put it somewhere in my scene. Let's say here, for example. As long as my light is selected, I will see all these options on this window here in our attribute editor, where I can change a lot of different properties of this light. So first of all, by clicking 7 here in the scene, you can actually see how your lighting is working in the scene. So if you click 7, it will show you the lighting and shading of your existing lights in the scene, versus when you have 5 or 6 on your scene, you'll just see a default lighting that helps you understand your geometry. So clicking 7, seeing what's happening there, I'm gonna just look at a few of the properties here. They're pretty simple and easy to understand. So you can change your type of the light. You can also change the color. Let's say you want your color to be red for some reason, or you want it to be white. You can change the intensity. It's how bright your light source is. You can change it to 0.8. White is usually the default, and a lot of times works good. A lot of people believe it should always be below 1, which might make sense because you usually have more than one light source in your scene. So let's say I put it at 9.8, and then I have it here. I duplicate it. I put a different light there. Make it lower and give it like 0.3. Now I'm going to look at the result and see how it looks. Render review previous. Looks like that. So I've got a light at the front, I've got a light at the back, and that's how it looks. So if here I go in my camera 1 view, bring it down, selecting the first one, I can play with it and get the effect that I'm after. There. So those are a bunch of some of the options you can play with. Also, you can always look at the shadowing and how you work with the shadowing. So first of all, what is the color of your shadow? It can be totally black, or you can play with different grays and use that. Also, you have different shadow mapping systems to create a shadow on the ground or on the plane and cast shadow. So first one is the depth map shadow, and the second one is the ray trace shadow. So the ray trace and depth map are basically the same thing. Ray trace is the higher quality, takes more time, and sometimes doesn't work properly with a lot of different lights. It works very good with physical sky and more advanced systems of lighting. But basically, just to know that, as Autodesk website says, that depth map shadow and ray trace shadow map are the same thing, just with different levels of quality and different time that they take for rendering. So I'll show you all the lights in the scene, and I create a new point light. I put it somewhere that we can see it, like that. Now I turn on my depth map shadow, and I'm gonna render it to see what results I'm gonna get. It's always annoying that you don't have by default a Redo Previous Render hotkey on your Maya, but you can always set one. So I would always say go ahead and do it. So you see here the shadow that it creates. So you see the edges are not perfect, and it's maybe too dark, and then there are lots of options you can work with and change those properties. So first of all, resolution. You can change that to a higher one. It might take a bit longer, but it will get rid of all these edges, low quality edges that you don't like. There are other ways to overcome that problem, but this is one way to start. On the video, you see now you get a finer edge at that corner. I'm just going to keep this in case you want to compare it. I'll go back to 512 just to save a little bit of time in rendering. Down here, you see your filter size and you see your shadow samples. So basically, the idea is when you're anywhere, any different type of lights that you use, the idea is when your light source is bigger than a point, you will get different shadow rays from different parts of it. So that is the reason it will create a smoother shadow, not like this, like a very sharp edge. So again, that's a personal preference. Do you like your object to have very sharp edges in the shadow, or do you want it to be smooth? I personally like the smoothness. A lot of people do. That's more real and maybe more interesting in some ways, and some people don't. So that is still a personal choice. So let's say filter size here, I'm going to change it to 10. And then the number of samples, I'll just keep it at 20 for now. But if you want a better quality, you can raise that to a higher number, let's say 32, 64, whatever you think is good. Re-render. Now you see we kind of get that edge. The reason back here is too dark is because we don't have an ambient light, we don't have a second source of light, we don't have a light that reflects from surfaces back, and everything looks black when it doesn't have a direct light on it, which we're going to get to later. Alright, so that's about lights, shadows, and cameras, a basic introduction. Do you guys have any questions so far, or should we go ahead? So just by clicking 7, so let's compare this. So this is the basic Maya you see, and then when you click 7, it will show you use all lights option now. So it will show you the actual lights you have in the scene. It's not perfect. It doesn't show you a lot of the details and shadows, but it's a good way of understanding where your light is and what that means in a scene. Any other questions? Okay. All right, so I'm gonna go and take a look at render settings now. So up here, this other icon here, which has a gear on it, is render setting window. Just looking at it quickly, it starts with the common, and then up here it has render layer and render views. So it's basically the Maya software renderer. You open it, it has Maya hardware, which is a little bit better, and then it has Maya hardware 2, which is a different approach to Maya hardware, and then you have Maya Vector for producing Maya vectors. But what we're looking at for this class is mental ray, which is an easy and powerful way of producing good renderings. So click on the mental ray, you'll see a bunch of new windows or tabs open up here. So just click on the mental ray. If you don't have it here, it's because your plugin is not loaded. So once again, you have to go to your window, setting your preferences, plugin manager, and add your mental ray plugin. Okay, so here mental ray comment. We have a lot of different options and properties to play with here. So basically, I would recommend anything that I'm saying here, go and try it and open all the windows, play with all the numbers, see what they actually mean. I was looking at Maya Help in Autodesk last night, and it has good explanations of what each of these properties are, and when you change them, what different results you can get. So go take a look at that and play with different numbers and get a better sense of what those are, and try to develop your own style and decide on what you like better. It's always good that at the end of the day, all your renderings do not look the same. Like, I remember in our year, we have like 4 or 5 people. As soon as they had boards on, you knew, oh, that's whoever's rendering. But the rest of the class looks a lot similar. So try to be those 4 or 5 people. Okay, here in the comments, you can see different tabs. Color management, file outputs. You can go take a look at those. They're maybe more professional than what we're looking for here. But what is important is maybe the image sizing. Yeah. So the image sizing down here, you have a preset where it's basically set for digital production. So they think about the screen you want to show your image on, and is it HD, is it 720, is it 1080? But you can also go down here and look at the actual paper sizes. So letter, legal, tabloid, A4, A3, anything you want, and click on them. Get the actual and proper resolution for those type of files to produce. Down here you see your width and height of your image, and then here you see your resolution, and you can change your size unit. So a quick rule of thumb for resolution is that you guys probably know, but you will always use with 4 different numbers. So 72 in resolution is always good for screen. Whatever you render in 72 is always good to show the same size on a screen. Then you can go up to 150, 200, and 300. So 300 is the maximum and best quality for rendering that you want to print. Usually if you go more than 300, a lot of printers won't even be able to read that, so don't bother going over 300. Even 300 is pretty high, so I usually go for 200, which is still good rendering quality. You can barely say the differences between 200 and 300 DPI resolution. And then even below that, 150 is the minimum acceptable. So if you do 150, 200, and 300, it's very difficult to say the differences. They're all good and very powerful renderings. So if you don't have enough time, just go with 150 and be sure that you can easily render your result and print it and get a good quality and it's not pixelated. But if you have enough time, tune it up to 200 and 300 for better results. What these numbers mean is the number of pixels they have in an inch. So 150 dpi, if you have an inch, it has 150 pixels in that. So if you want to do a 2 by 2 inch image in 150 means you need 300 by 300 pixels of a rendering. So if you have a 300 by 300, you can render it in a 2 inch by 2 inch in 150 DPI resolution. Does that make sense? I guess it does. All right. So that's the image size here. And then on next tab, we can look at quality. So under quality, again, you have a lot of different options. Go in and look at them and see what they are. But what is important here is the sampling. So under sampling, you see a bunch of different options you can work with. So overall quality is the overall quality of your rendering, which means how much process time your computer is going to take to render your image. The more that number is, the less pixels or noise you'll see in your scene, and the higher that number is, it will be more smooth, but at the same time it will take more time to render. So 0.25 is a good place to start. If you have time, go for 0.5. If you have more time, go for 1. But it depends on what you expect from your rendering and how strong your machine is in rendering. So, and how busy your scene is, how many reflections you have, how many objects you have. So always have that in mind. If your rendering is taking so long and you don't have enough time, you're in a rush, or you're rendering your presentation in the class for the next person to go on the board, just reduce that overall quality and get a quick render and just put it there. It will always be acceptable, but if you have more time, make it a higher number. Lighting quality, same thing. And then down here we have indirect diffuse GI mode, which is basically the idea of light reflecting from surfaces and then leading up the objects in the scene. So when you do indirect lighting in any rendering engine, it will turn on this physical rule that any light that is in the scene will be bouncing on and off from different surfaces and create your objects cause your object to have lights from different sources, not just one direct one. So again, here you have different choices to make. Simply you can say on, and then it will be on GI prototype, which is a very good and a strong option to choose. I'm just going to render it here for you guys to see the difference. So I will redo that. So when you do it, we didn't do the camera, or move my camera. So that's a mistake I said don't make. If you move your camera around and then you have done a bunch of stuff after and you're thinking that it's my scene that I'm working with, then you don't have enough undos to go back, or you do undos will change your object. So the trick to that is to go back to your previous file that you saved and import your camera back into your file. But in this instance, I don't have a previous file, so I can't basically go back to this. So backing back to this, now you see my back edges here, or my back surfaces are lit a little bit. If that's not clear, these ones should have a better quality of rendering that you can look at. And then there's, except this part, there's no perfect black. It always have some light on every surface because different surfaces are reflecting back. The more objects you have in the scene, this effect will take longer to happen, but it will make you a better result of rendering at the same time. Other thing you can do here, instead of going on, you can do a final gather. This is basically the same, will give you the same result, but it will be rendered faster with a bit of lower quality. So you can see here that it's gonna give me a result much faster, but maybe on some edges I'll see some noises, or the quality might not be what I expected to be. So those are the two options for indirect diffuse GI mode. Question? Okay. Next one here. So again, go down, scroll down, see all these different options. Volume sampling, what that means, filtering, trace depth, geometry. Look at those and try to mess with those and get a better understanding of what those different options are and what those different functions do. But the other thing that is useful to know is under the scene tab, scene, you have a tab called environment under cameras. So here you can create a physical sun and sky, which will basically give you a light source which is similar to the sun, and create an environment which is similar to a realistic physical sky. It's a bit tricky because it's like cheating, because you don't have to deal with a lot of different lights, have too many different light sources, and you will quickly get a good result. But also, if you have, let's say, a complex building on the scene, you have a background, you have a foreground, you have some windows and holes and textures, you have your physical sky on, it will give you a good basic result. You can play with the properties and improve it. And then at the end of the day, anytime that you want to get a very good result, you always have to go back to your create menu, look at your different lights, and try to create maybe some point lights or direct lights to maybe lit certain edges to light up for you, or create a flare or some effects in your scene. So always have that in mind. Physical sun and sky might be deceiving, but it gives you a good result. Probably, I'm guessing a lot of you guys are going to use that for this exercise, but if something's not happening the way you want and you properties and it's not still happening, or you're looking after some kind of effect to happen in your scene, you can always go to your lights and create that through adding more light sources. Okay, I'm going to just click on it and create my physical sky. You can see now, instead of saying create, this one has changed to delete. If I delete it, it will delete all the properties and the light sources that I created by clicking on that. So in the render setting, there's not much more to talk about, but again, go into it and take a look and see what all these different tabs are and what they have and how we can work with them. Now here, I've created my physical sky, it is selected here. That's the sun direction. And here in my attributes editor, I can see the different properties I can play with. But what I'm going to do right now is just to keep this image that was my previous render and do a re-render and redo the previous render just to have a comparison. You can see the quality of your render will improve a lot. But again, you will have a lot of white surfaces. You might burn your rendering very quickly. It's also good to know if your rendering is burnt, how to solve that problem. Burning your render means that all the surfaces are so white that you don't actually see much of it, or it is white, meaning that it's not a gradient coming from gray to white, but the whole surface is white and you don't see the details on that. Maybe again that's your style. You want to burn your object and show some parts of it, but sometimes it's a technical issue, so you should be able to solve that. So just comparing this to having a physical sky and not having it, that's the difference you see in the result. I still have my point light in the scene, which I can go and delete. Keep this image and re-render my scene to get a better result. Okay, now you see I only have my sky on. As you can see in the background, here we have the blue sky, and then there's no other lights in the scene. So comparing this to that, the whiteness here is because we had a point light in the scene, and the absence of that means that we don't have it. It's just under effect of the actual sun that we created in the scene. So selecting your sun direction from the outliner here, you will see a lot of the options again opening up in your attribute editor. So from here you can start selecting different tabs that you can work with. I'm going to start with Mia Physical Sky 1. That's what the name of my physical sky is, number 1. Very simple. We can just turn it on or off, have a multiplier. Go look at all these numbers and see what they are. But so your physical sky by default will create a sky and a ground and a horizon. You can control those in different ways. You can change the ground color. You don't see it here, and people don't usually use it, but just know that it's there. We have a night color, which is basically your ambient color. So if we change this black to a red and we re-render, we will see that in the shadows we'll have a deep touch of red. As you see here, it's appearing because our night color is red. And you can still see more effects of that if you have like a night situation, you have less light in your sky. You can change the height of your horizon here. You can change how much blurry your horizon looks, and all this. So we talked about color intensity. I'll just change that back to black. Click on it, click on black. Here. Okay, so another tab here is sun shape. So this one is talking about what my sun looks like. Just back to this render view here, I want to compare the red dark night color and the black one. You see the effect of the red color that it has on your scene. The sun shape. You can change the type of it, you can change the color of it, you can change the intensity of it, and it's pretty similar to what we talked about in the different light sources. It is actually a basic light source similar to the previous ones that we have, but it is controlled under a physical sky situation here in light. So you can go to your shadows. Again, you see your different two maps, your ray trace and your depth map shadow. I'm gonna just turn this on. So ray trace, same idea. You can make your light source larger, and you can make the number of samples you have. And then here it's a faster, easier way. So just click that on. I'll change my filter size to 10. I'll change the numbers to, let's say, 32. And then I'll zoom in on my object a little bit so that we see a better shadow, closer look. And then you render the previous one. Now you see the shadows starting to fading out and having a smooth edge. Kind of looks better. I think some people like it sharp, but this is not. Okay, so when it's rendering, it says rendering down here. When it's done, it shows you the file size, shows you how much time it spends to do your rendering, but sometimes it keeps going and going, and sometimes it crashes. So Maya is a software that crashes easily a lot of times. So first of all, make sure you save a lot. Save your render test so you see your progress. Also, if it crashes, sometimes it's good to give it some time because it's rendering in the background. It's just not responsive. You cannot click on it, but it's actually working. But if you spend like 2 hours waiting and it's not coming back, probably you can close it and do a new one. Okay, so this is what we have right now. I'm gonna move to materials and talk about those a little bit, talk about ambient occlusion and texture mapping just a little. But before going there, do you guys have any questions, or is there anything that was not clear, or was I fast anywhere? Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'll show you that. Okay, so any other questions? Just those two? Okay. So starting with the outliner, you can, was your question how to get that? How to open it? Okay. So two ways. Go to your window and click on outliner. That's one way. The other thing is that down here, you can click on this. Then you have your outliner on the side and then use it, but you can also click back and there, like that. So talking about changing the direction of your sun. So if you have your sun selected, in these tabs up here, you have your sun direction. You can play with these numbers and change your sun direction and sun location. But also your sun is a direct light in your scene right there. You can move it around, you can rotate it, and you can get different effects out of it. The interesting thing is different angles you give to your sun, because it reads it as a real sun. You might give it too much angle, it will go orange because it's getting to sunset or sunrise, stuff like that. So if you end up having an orange result, know that it's because of the direction you have in your sun. And then there are lots of different tricks to work around that. So I'm sure you guys will figure that out. It's rendering it black for me for some reason. Okay. So when you're in the middle of a render and you don't want to continue taking too long, just press escape. It will cancel the rendering. Simple as that. There's nothing else you can do about it. So I'll go to my camera one. I'm not sure why it was rendering black, but I'll just re-render it to see if it's still black or not. It is black. I don't know. Things happen, especially when you're doing the tutorial. So I'll do open, as you can see, which is basically the same thing that I created for you guys. That. So this should work. Okay, it's not bad. Good. Okay, now we're going to talk about hypershift. Have you guys worked with texturing and creating materials and texture mapping and what is a diffuse and anything like that before? No. So here, you guys have worked with Grasshopper. So this is kind of similar to that, but instead of creating cool parametric stuff, you're going to create materials. And the only similarity they have, you can just connect links for it. It looks kind of the same way, and it's cool. So when you open your Hypershade, I'm just going to delete this and create a new one, or maybe just a new scene, just to do a review with all of you guys. So again, we said we made a plane, we imported an object. The reason I am using this object is to have different surfaces so that I can easily show you guys the different surfaces and different effects it will cause. Select my teapot, go to scale, give it a 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. It is located somewhere, which is good enough for me. I'll just put it there. I will go to my view, camera setting, down there, and then create my resolution gauge. Now I know where I'm looking at. I can create a camera if I want, or no, that's optional to me. But I really recommend for you guys to do it because you always want you to keep your same view. In the camera details, you can select if you want to see it in perspective or orthographic view. That's still a choice, but based on the projects, you can decide what you want. I get a view. I'll go to my render settings up here. I change it to mental ray. I go to my scene and I create a physical sky. Do that. And just quickly render. So very fast, very easy, a good result, but to start with. So something that I'm going to show you guys is ambient occlusion. Have you guys heard that before or used this before? Okay, so same thing here. I'm gonna let's move the object a little bit so that we see a better result at the end. It's good that you guys know what ambient occlusion is, so I'm not gonna explain it to you. However, I think Matt explained a little bit what it is last session. So if you open your Hypershade, in this window, you can basically see everything you have in your scene and edit all your materials, your render views, even your projects, cameras, lights, and everything. So up here, you have a browser window where you have your different materials, textures, utilities, and everything to select. Down here, you have a create menu where you can create textures or materials from. Over here, you have your material viewer where you see your materials. And then down here, you have your property editor where you can edit your property. And then here, it's the Grasshopper-like environment where we can connect different nodes and create different effects in materials. So the default material for Maya is Lambert. Every object you create is a Lambert material. You can create new materials and assign it to your objects with different properties. I think Payman is going to touch on that, but you guys can always go look here under these menus and find it out yourselves and find maybe a new cool material nobody else is using, introduce that to everybody, and also use it yourself. So down here you have Maya. You'll see different textures and materials you can create under that. You have mental ray. So these are the specific materials and textures that is under mental ray and not the actual Maya render default. Okay, so if I have my Lambert 1 selected, I right click on it, it will give me a bunch of options. So on the top I have assign initial shading group to selection. If I have an object selected, I created a material over here, I want to assign it to my selection, right click and assign it to my selection. But it is already assigned to my object. I'm going to go to graph network, and then I will see my object down here to the graph network. Again, you can play with all these properties, change them, and work with them, and see what they do. I'm not gonna do it right now for you because it will take a while, and it's again a personal thing to figure out. But just showing that this amber is my material. Let's say my color is a little bit maybe orangish, like that. Now you see my plane and my teapot are both a little bit orangish. I go right click here in my browser, go create, material, and then I can create a new material, whatever I want, or I can do, let's say, do another Lambert. Okay, this is another Lambert I created. I will just give it a white color like that. Then I will select my plane. I right click here on my Lambert, assign it to my material. So now my base is white and my teapot is a little bit orange-ish. This is my Lambert 2, that's my Lambert 1. So one texture that I'm going to show you is ambient occlusion, but similar to this, you can use with all different textures. So let's say you want to have a image map texture, you can just drag one of these JPEGs over here, and then you will have that map, and you can apply it to a material, which you can export. But if you have one of these tabs selected, you can always go in and search for different textures in those. So I've got mental ray selected. I'll go look for occlusion. So typing OC, it will give me my options. So three of them that are famous and people usually use are MIP amp occlusion, or MIP fast occlusion, and MIP FG occlusion. So basically, these are, again, doing the same thing with different qualities and different speeds in rendering. So MIP amp is a basic one. It is said that MIP FG is a more advanced one, and MIP fast, as it says in its name, is a faster way of doing it. So I'm just going to go create a MIP amp occlusion, and as soon as you click, it will create one for you. Click twice, it created two for you. You can navigate in this window the same way you do in Maya. So holding Alt and your different mouse buttons, you can navigate through this menu. So I've got my ambient occlusion here, which again give different properties for me on that side. I think Payman is going to cover your basic material properties on this side, right? A little bit, but you don't really need a lot to know. Just clicking on something, go and play with those and see what they are. So basic colors and reflection, refraction, transparency, and those stuff. So ambient selected, I've got a bright color, I've got a dark color. Let's say I just want to keep this orange color. So I will go to my ambient and kind of create a similar orange color for that. And I've got an out value, I'll just link that to my color. Now, it looks black for some reason, but it should not render black. I will go back to my render view, and I'll see the result. So now I have a little bit of effect of ambient occlusion on my object. As you can see, all these noises down here are because it is creating that ambient occlusion effect. I'm not sure how clear it is on the screen, but it should be pretty clear at least. Okay, going back to your hypershades, a few more items you can play with is your spread. So basically, if your object is pretty small, around it fits in a cube of 2 by 2, you probably want something like a 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, something like that, so you can see the fall off on all the edges and see that shadow. So I'll just change that, and then I should have a sample here. Yeah, sample is 16, so the higher that number is, the better result you will get and less noise in the shading. So sample 64, and then spread 0.4. I'll just keep this and re-render. So now I should get a better result in terms of the quality of the ambient occlusion, and it should not spread as much as it was doing before, which I think is happening. So the last thing after this is UV mapping. Have you guys heard about that before? Okay, so when you apply a texture map on an object, it will try to understand a way of projecting that texture overall the whole thing. It's basically called UV mapping, and it tries to unfold your object in a way that it understands it, project the image on it, and then fold it back and render it for you. So if you, let's say instead of the ambient occlusion, I had an image used as a color or as a diffuse, I would see that image on this surface here in a way that the software by default understands to apply it on that. If you want to change it, you will go to your Windows, and down here in let's it. In UV editor, you will see, if you have your object selected, you will see what is the surface that it is understanding from your object. So that's basically my teapot unfolder. You can select your object and try different types of unfolding. You can see your texture map here and play with it. Maybe you want to have a pattern or a text or something somewhere specific on your object. You can place it in this window. So window UV map, you can play with it. It's too much detail, probably more than what you needed for this project, but it's good to know where it is in case you needed it sometime. A lot of times you don't need to model a lot of the details. If the purpose of the modeling is just to show that in the render, you can easily place it somewhere in the scene as a texture map and just see it instead of spending time of rendering and modeling on that object. So that's basically it. I'm just gonna go ahead and pause the recording.